First of all, it's a great pleasure to meet all of you. This program is called Gurukul. The word Guru is derived from the Sanskrit roots Gu, signifying ignorance, Ru, implying remover. So Guru is supposed to be somebody who is the remover of your ignorance. He helps to uncover your own intrinsic nature rather than imposing a doctrine upon you. Just as a person is not enriched by a loan, so too a person is not truly enlightened by a second-hand enlightenment. The true Guru is one who fathoms the depth or shallowness of the people before beginning to teach. The traditional Guru-Shishya relationship had particular importance in ancient India, when students would grow up under the canopy of their Guru as a member of the Gurukul or teacher's family. Gurukul means teacher's family. The student would derive a multi-dimensional education. Beyond providing formal education, the Guru imparted an ethical perspective. The importance of guiding values was emphasized. In modern times, however, the role of the Guru and of the Gurukul system of education has been substantially bypassed. While the emphasis in former times was on helping students fulfill their potentialities and develop their consciousness, the education system has a new mandate today. Now, what is the mandate? To train students to survive and succeed in a cutthroat environment, in which professional advancement are the only recognized emblem of success. The teacher, like everyone else, takes his or her place in an assembly line system of production in which knowledge too is a commodity. Education is no longer a process of evolution. It has become a trade in fact lists and score sheets, in which a short-term memory that is oriented towards examination is prized over the development of long-term ability to reflect upon oneself, others, and the world. Rather than attending to individual needs, teachers today seem driven by the need to send yet another batch of ill-informed students on their way into the literary statistics. In such an ethos, the Guru is no longer a dispeller of darkness. She has tragically joined the forces of ignorance. That's the meaning of Gurukul. So today, let me speak a little bit about, having discussed about Guru as the remover of ignorance. Today, I'll speak a little bit about wisdom in the age of information. I've noted down all these points, which I agree. Wisdom in the age of information and a little bit meditation if we get time. We call this age of information. Very proudly we call this age of information, right? But much of the information is junk information. The Buddha said, your head is not a dustbin. कूड़ा कचरा डलने के लिए नहीं है, बट डल रहे हैं हम लोग, ठीक है ना? If you are thirsty, so what I'm trying to say is, today we think that to get all kind of information is important. Otherwise, you are ill-informed. And then we try to Google out, see everything, Not realizing the fact that neither you have the time to know everything, nor there is no need to know everything. If you are thirsty, you definitely need to drink water. But neither you need to drink the whole ocean, nor you can drink. ठीक है ना? प्यास को बुझाने के लिए पानी चाहिए, खुद को डुबोने के लिए पानी नहीं चाहिए. Right? Therefore, if you had read a little bit about Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life, I hope you read it, otherwise make it a point to buy this book and read it once you are back in your place, things like that. This book by Shantideva called Bodhisattva Way of Life is a classic book on the concept of ethics, which we are talking so much these days. Written in 8th century by great Indian saint Shantideva. So, right in the beginning, Shantideva said, life is short. Short hai ki nahi? Short means maximum we will live 100 years, out of which already 10-20, even if I give you a discount, in your case, we already spent at least 15 years. So life is short. Life is short. There are too many things to know. That's what I was saying. Is it necessary for you to know everything? Nahi chahiye. Life is short. There are too many things to know. And we do not know the actual span of our life. Even if you are supposed to live 100 years, that's a general statement. But the reality is, tomorrow or next life, which will come first? Not sure. If you breathe out and could not breathe in, that is called death. Zyada dur nahi jana. Flight booking nahi karna, kuch bhi nahi karna. Dur nahi ho. So we do not know the actual span of our life. Why we need to know this? Number one, this is reality. Number two, once you know the reality of life, the life in general is short, and also we do not know the actual span of life, that means the time you have right now, you must be used in a meaningful way. Meaningful way means? Meaningful way means? Khana pina, sona, idhar udhar bhagna, not just that. You are allowed to enjoy, but not just that. Meaningful means to transform your mind into a positive state, so that not only this life, in the future lives also you will prosper. So, because of the fact that life is short and we do not know the actual span of our life, therefore he says, just as the swan extracts milk from water, take only what is necessary. कूड़ा कचरा सब बटोरने का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, है ना? Now you realize this very clearly. Life is short. There are too many things to do, to know. No need to know everything. In fact, if you are able to know some of the important points of life, or facts of reality, that will be enough, much more than enough. ठीक है ना? So therefore, it is important to make this life meaningful by listening to the wisdom, by thinking about the wisdom and meditating on the wisdom. These three, in the Buddhist process of education, these three, listening, thinking, meditation, this threefold process of study is extremely important, not only in the Buddhist practice, but in all your practices. Number one, listening. Most of us don't have that stamina to listen carefully. हम तो बोलने में उत्सुकता है बहुत, बोलते ही जा रहा है. लेकिन nature has given us only one mouth, 2 ears. That means listen more. 2 eyes. देखो, ठीक से देखो, आंखों देखा हाल बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. मुंह थोड़ा बंद करो, एक ही है ना. We do the opposite. Just keep on talking. And when you keep on talking, it means you keep on speaking what you know. You will not learn anything. But if you listen, you get more knowledge. So listening is very important. Listening carefully, whatever the other person is saying, listen carefully. And especially in the class, something is taught, listen carefully. Now many of us don't even listen. There are some who listen, then after listening the subject in the class, they think, my job is done. घर जाके homework नहीं करता, thinking नहीं करता, thinking. And having listened to something, then you should use your brain and reflect what that other person has said, what that book has said, whether how far this seems to be true. Think about it. Then through thinking you will come to a conclusion, come to a conviction, yes, this seems to be correct. This doesn't seem to be correct. I have a question about this. Things like that, thinking. And once through thinking, when you develop the conviction, many people just leave it there. मुझे पता है, हाँ मुझे पता है. Because you through thinking you develop the conviction, this is the meaning of water. उसके बाद meditation नहीं करता है. So meditation means once you develop conviction on anything, then after that make your mind completely familiar with that. Just like your meditation on water. You have been meditating on water for a long time. As soon as I say water, it's very clear to you. Water is for drinking, water is for washing the clothes. Its color is like that, shape is like that, it is a liquid. Crystal clear. But when I say compassion, कौन सा चिड़िया का नाम है? You might think like that, you see. So there means listening is not there, thinking is not there, meditation is not there. That's one meaning of meditation. Now, second meaning of meditation, why we need to, today there is so much talk about meditation. Meditation, this word meditation has become a household name, and it hits the headline of New York Times, Newsweek, and things like that. But unfortunately, this meditation is also commercialized. 5-star hotel में चल रहा है आजकल meditation. ठीक है ना? और ज़्यादातर को meditation का पता भी कुछ नहीं है. आंख मूंद के बैठा है वहाँ कोने में. So what is meditation? Why do we have to do it? Number one, meditation is not sitting in a corner with closed eyes. Meditation is necessary because you are controlled by your mind. Are you with me? You are controlled by your mind. That's not a big problem. The problem is what kind of mind that is controlling you. Right? You are controlled by your mind, that's not a big problem, but the problem is the mind which is controlling you is predominantly negative, predominantly short-sighted, predominantly silly, predominantly stupid. That's the problem. If your country is ruled by a dictator, that's a big problem, right? इसी तरह Like that, when you are controlled by a negative mind, controlled by negative emotion, suffering of course is bound to come. Problems are bound to come. Troubles are bound to come. So therefore, training the mind, meditation is so important. It's not talking about nirvana enlightenment alone. It's talking about how can you remove your stress? How can you remove your fear? How can you do away with disunity? Right? Things like that. Right? So this is just like your oxygen. Without oxygen, you can't survive. Similarly, without this kind of practice, there's no way you can get long-lasting peace and happiness. So it's a question of survival. ठीक है ना? So therefore, at this point, it's pertinent to reflect and think, and in fact confirm that we all want happiness. है कि नहीं? सीधी बात है. We all want happiness. है कि नहीं? Anybody who don't want happiness? Huh? Yes? So everybody wants happiness. Number one. Remember that. Number two, for how long you want happiness? Exactly. This has nothing to do with religion. You are born like that. You are born like that. Wanting happiness and wanting maximum happiness. Happiness as long as possible. इसको याद रखो. Remember this. It's nothing to do with religion. The first thing that the child does after birth is what? Crying or laughing? Crying, you know? Indian children, Tibetan children, American children, Russian children, कोई फर्क नहीं है. First thing is crying. What do you think the child is asking by crying? Because he didn't have developed a language. So the only language is crying. So what do you think the child is asking? Huh? What do you think the child is asking? Huh? I am 100% sure the child is not asking for a lengthy discourse on Buddhism. Thereby any religion. है ना? आजकल बड़ा चढ़ा के लड़ रहा है ना धर्म के नाम पर. If you look at our basic nature, we are born without any religion. So the child, by crying, is asking for somebody's unconditional love, unconditional care. Whether the caregiver is the mother or whoever, the child in that helpless situation, difficult situation, मुंह में दांत नहीं है, सिर पर बाल नहीं, मेरे पास थोड़ा तो है ना कम, वो भी नहीं, कुछ नहीं है, जान पहचान कोई भी नहीं है ना, नंगा आ गया दुनिया में. So in that helpless situation, the only miracle that gives the child life, sustenance, and being able to survive is unconditional love. That we need to remember for the rest of our life. We need that. The need for that becomes much more evident when you are helpless, when you are a child, when you are a little bit old. But around your age, you may start thinking, I can manage, I can do everything, I don't need anybody's love. ऐसा नहीं है. Because your body, the biological situation is such, love, affection is very good for brain development, peace of mind, everything. It's the real source of miracle. है ना? So therefore, what I'm saying is, ask yourself this question again and again. I want happiness. I want happiness as long as possible. So having asked these pertinent questions, the next important thing is then find the answer. If you want that long-lasting happiness, what could be the main source of that long-lasting happiness? कहाँ से आएगा? The main source I'm saying. थोड़ा कुछ इधर उधर से आ सकता है, लेकिन I'm talking about the main source of their long-lasting happiness. Huh? Inner. What does that mean? Yeah, I get this answer. Everybody says, when we are, right now we are thinking a little bit. So at least we are able to say from inside. Ordinarily, we don't even think about that. We think happiness will come from outside. Alishan makan milne se, acha dost milne se. If I get tasty food, if I'm able to go to the mountain for a picnic, and long-lasting peace will come from. सोचते हैं ना दुनिया दौड़ रहा है ना आजकल. World is running for what? Huh? The whole world is running today. And everybody is saying I'm busy, as if to be busy is important. Buddhism says to be busy is not important. What is important is what are you busy about? किस चीज में व्यस्त हैं? व्यस्त होना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण चीज नहीं है. What are you busy about? So today we are busy to get money, पैसा. उसी के लिए दौड़ रहा है दिन रात. मिलता क्या है? हाँ? लॉन्ग लास्टिंग हैप्पीनेस उधर से आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? ये समझने वाली बात है. These are things that you really need to think if you want long lasting happiness. And you have rightly pointed out that long lasting happiness has to come from within. But what do you mean by within? Long lasting happiness will come from within doesn't mean that you don't do any work and sit there and food will come from the space. ऐसा ये बात नहीं बोल रहे. When we say long-lasting happiness has to come from within, we are basically saying that it is dependent upon your mental outlook, your mental attitude. So attitude को change करना है. Attitude is everything. So you have to transform your mind. Now transforming the mind, what do you mean by transforming the mind? If you look at this word dharma, धर्म का प्रयास करना. धर्म मतलब धारण करे तो धर्म. Right? So basically, transforming your mind means not necessarily in accordance with the Buddhist teaching or Hinduism or any religious, but we are primarily talking about transforming your mind in accordance with the law of nature, the way things are. क्योंकि प्रकृति के खिलाफ हम जा ही नहीं सकता है. जा सकते हैं हम लोग? कितना भी आविष्कार तू करो. Science is trying to control nature to some extent. Is it possible? Will it be possible ever? I don't think so. प्रकृति के खिलाफ हम जा ही नहीं सकते. There's good news, also bad news. Right? So therefore, transforming your mind means realizing the way things are, understanding the way things are. Now, what do you mean by way things are? Way things are means, in Buddhism we talk about impermanence, for example. Anitya. Impermanence is not made by Buddha, not made by any Indian rishis. It's law of nature, impermanent. वो समझना चाहिए आपको. Then your life will be transformed. कैसे? For example, now you visit here in Dharamshala, supposed to be for 1 month. अभी कितना दिन रह गया? सिर्फ 10 दिन रह गया. अनित्य है ना? Strictly speaking, you are already a different person than what you were this morning. This is not only taught in Buddhism, also saying that the fact is after 7 years, even in terms of your physical constituents, you become a completely different person. There is a story of a criminal who was caught and imprisoned. Then he had heard about this statement, So after 7 years, he said, please release me, I am a different person. So it's really like that. Ek bar, at one time, there was a gentleman who requested Buddha to give a teaching. Then the Buddha said, okay, first you go to the river, wash yourself and come. Then he washed himself and came. Then he said, go again, wash. Okay, sir. He went there, washed again, came back. Then the Buddha said, did you wash in the same river or different river? He said, same river. He said, no. The river that you washed before, gone. It's a very good example. Time is like that. Water is like that. Anything. Ephemeral. So when you understand this momentariness, impermanence, do you get frightened?
Yes.
Do you get frightened?
Yes.
Why you are getting frightened?
Time is passing.
So why your time is passing, whatever. So why do you get frightened? You get frightened because you have misconception of the reality. Reality is impermanent, but you have been thinking it's permanent. मैंने तो पूरा पढ़ाई करना है, उसके बाद घर बसाना है, फिर शादी करना है, बच्चा पैदा करना है, आलीशान मकान में रहना है, उसमें स्विमिंग पूल भी होना चाहिए, मर्सिडीज कार भी होना चाहिए. I mean, endless pursuit. That means you are planning to live forever. Reality में वो नहीं होता है, change होता है. Then you get frightened. You have so much grasping upon yourself. That's why you get frightened. That's why you get fear. But if you understand the reality, there's nothing to fear. Just like a great swimmer, when that swimmer knows the way of the waves, tides and so forth, he rides the tide, waves and swim very peacefully. Those who don't know how to swim, they'll be drowned. So there's nothing to fear. Instead, there's so much to enjoy. Number one, you fear because of death primarily. हम लोग सब जीना चाहता है, मरना कोई भी नहीं चाहता है. My question is, जी के क्या करोगे? एक बार मैंने किसी से बोला था, जी के क्या करोगे? When the Gurukul has started coming, at which year I don't know, it was 2000, probably 11 or something. So in those days we don't have this kind of group discussion. So sometimes the organizers, they would send like 2-3 students saying, Geshe, can you give some time? These people are interested in philosophy. So I remember very well, 2 girls and 1 boy came. And the boy was very attacking and adamant. When I explained things, then he said, "Ye sab jan ke kya karoge?" He came, but he is attacking like that. Then I said, "Are you studying in a college?" He said, "Yes." "Par ke kya karoge?" मैंने भी उसको पूछा ना जवाब में. फिर उसने बोला कि जीने के लिए खाना मिलेगा, जॉब मिलेगा, जीना. मैं फिर बोला, जी के क्या करोगे? Something like that. So therefore my point is, you see, when you understand the reality, impermanence, interconnectedness, shunyata, whatever, the amazing thing is it will unite all of us. And all your negative thoughts will decrease by understanding that. And all your positive thoughts will increase. Kaise? I will give you an example. For example, if here in front of my table, let us say there is an old man or old women. I will have both old men, old women. Say 99 years old, both. Very old. Not only old, but also very sick physically. The body is completely pus-ridden, wounds all over the body, pus is oozing out, things like that. So if there is such an old man and old woman in front of us, then we see that reality. These two people, very elderly people are here. We see the reality. So after seeing this reality, now you can see the benefit. The benefit when you see the reality that these are very old and they are also sick, helpless, things like that. Will you develop attachment? मैं उस बूढ़े से शादी करना है. If you are a boy, I'll marry this old woman. If you are a woman, I'll marry this old man. Will we think like that? एक दो हो सकता है पागलपन की. हाँ, उनको छोड़ के बोलता है जिसका मन सही है. पागलपन का कोई हद नहीं ना. हाँ. So anybody who has that sanity, will you develop that attachment? नहीं है ना. नहीं है ना. कहने का मतलब क्या है मेरा? कहने का मतलब right now if I develop attachment to you and other people, which we do of course, that means I'm not able to see your reality. रियलिटी उसी में है, हर चीज़ में है, लेकिन इतना ऑब्वियस नहीं है क्योंकि शरीर में इतना बुरा पेक है, वो निशान नहीं है और उससे ज़्यादा तुमको पता भी नहीं है, राइट? Then you develop attachment. So attachment, which is a negative emotion, didn't rise. Positive emotions, इनको मदद करना चाहिए, पानी पिलाना चाहिए, दवाई दो, हॉस्पिटल में ले जाना चाहिए. This kind of thinking, do you think this kind of thinking will come?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. There's the greatness of seeing the reality. And also when you see impermanence, especially death, that we are all going to die, then those people who have that knowledge, like Buddhist teaching, I think it was again Shantideva who said, you don't have to kill people, they will die. अभी देखो पुतिन क्या कर रहा है आजकल, शी जिनपिंग क्या कर रहा है. इसी तरह there are so many other leaders. What are they doing these days? Making such powerful, sophisticated weapons, including nuclear arms, to kill millions at one go. Pagalpan, ignorance, stupidity. And Buddhist masters say, you don't have to kill people, they'll die. जो भी जितना भी तनाशाही है सब कुछ चला गया. फिर माओ सेतुंग भी चला गया, हिटलर भी चला गया, ईडी अमीन भी चला गया, चलते रहेंगे सब. So what we should be doing, if we have the sanity, is not to kill, because they are going to die. What we need to do is give life, give happiness, give love, give affection, enjoy. Just like your visit to Dharamshala, you know it's only for 1 month. You may get some facilities, you may get all the facilities, but at least you are mentally prepared, so you seem to be enjoying. That's enough, that's good. So like this visit to Dharamshala, we are all here a kind of visitors on this planet. ज़्यादा दूर रहने वाला नहीं हम लोग. So therefore, enjoy, be happy. Enjoy not in a negative sense, but in a positive sense. Without harming others, without harming yourself, you can enjoy your life. ठीक है ना? So that's the way to transform your mind. That's the way to transform your mind. So therefore, one thing that you need to do is, in order to do that, bridge the gap between appearance and reality. Bridge the gap appearance and reality. Ordinarily we go for appearance. We have no time, we have no patience to dig the reality. If you don't believe me, go to a supermarket, big mall. Everything is arranged nicely on the shelf. With colorful wrappings, colorful packets. And underneath they have also written buy one free. Because they know you go after appearance. Then you go there mesmerized, so nice, I should buy one. And then you suffer from what we call as market intoxication. Or we call it shopping coma. अगली बार आप जाओगे ना देख लेना, मेरा जो मैं बोल रहा है सच नहीं है. We all do. ठीक है ना? And then you also don't handle money directly these days. You use the plastic card. जिसमें कितना पैसा आपको भी पता नहीं ठीक से. So you have to act like other gentlemen and gentlewomen. Buy one to whatever you get, you put it in there's a pile of basket. The person before you takes one basket, you thought I should also take one. Empty basket लेके तो थोड़ा नहीं घूम सकता है ना, थोड़ा डलेगा इधर उधर कुछ. बाद में then you take that plastic card and take your all money out. Still you are in shopping coma. Only after when you reach home and unpack your things, then you come back to senses and saying, why did I buy this one? ये तो already कमरे में पड़ा है. ऐसा हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? मैं बड़ा चढ़ा के बोल रहा है? That's what I'm saying. So my point is, appearances are deceptive. थोड़ा समय लो. मैरिज में भी समय लो, थोड़ा शक्ल सूरत देख कर कि जल्दी इज सब हैंडसम मैन, सब हैंडसम बॉय. फिर बाद में बोलता है 4 दिन की चांदनी फिर अंधेरी रात. ठीक है ना? ठीक है कि नहीं? इट्स योर लाइफ. Take time. There's no hurry. Take time. Don't make a mistake, otherwise you will make a hell of your life. So bridge the gap between appearance and reality. Reality क्या है देखो, पूछो इस चीज के बारे में, है ना? As much as possible get. So bridge the gap between appearance, reality. We run after appearance. I give you the example, shopping coma. Okay. So understanding reality helps promoting harmony, promoting happiness, promoting peace, and not suffering, division, destruction. Right? For example, I'll give you one example. For example, if we are crossing through a very turbulent sea in a small boat, let us say 10 of us, we are going somewhere to see something. 10 of us. During this trip, your trip is not so turbulent, so I don't know how much you know each other. But if you take a small boat and travel in a very turbulent sea, and the sea becomes very rough and turbulent, then you will come very close to each other. And if luckily, if you survive the turbulence, you will become very good friend. है कि नहीं? Because then you are able to see reality much more clearly. सारा pretension खत्म हो जाता है. Normally we live a pretended life. एक बार मैं वहाँ रहा था. I was living in a nice hotel in London. His Holiness the Dalai Lama was also there. I was staying on this 22nd floor. Then suddenly there was a siren. We all came down. All of us, including His Holiness, on the ground floor. Some with, some piece of cloth, towel, whatever they could get, because we are all sleeping. They all came together. You know what happened? When we were all together at the lobby, at the ground, there was no need for any introduction. Everybody was talking to each other. उसके पहले तो everybody was a gentleman and gentlewoman. At the most they will say, hi, morning. The reality brought you down, removed your insanity. Then no introduction. Normally बोलते हैं ना introduction, appointment, ये सब चल रहे हैं आजकल, appointment लेना है, introduction करना है. Introduction क्या करना है? I know you are a human being like me. है ना? So to some extent, right? So what I'm saying is, pretension will not work when we face reality. So without pretension, we need to understand the way things are. So therefore, if you understand impermanence, for example, and with that, if you understand the fact that today in this world we have how many billions of people? around 7 billion of people. I'm telling you, these 7 billion of people, including all these great stalwarts, leaders, whatever, all these 7 billion people living today will all be dead after 120 years. सबका सब मरा हुआ मर जाएगा. किसी ने do we think about those things? If that is our fate, that is our situation, what point is there to fight? What point is there to kill each other? What point is there to destroy and divide in the superficial name of religion, caste, wo hai? My goodness, all these designations made by stupid, short-sighted, stupid human minds for division. The very division shows the smallness of our mind. जिसका सोच विचार छोटा है उसको वही आता है डिवाइड करना, है ना? So that's why in Buddhism we talk so much about shunyata, emptiness. Once you understand emptiness, it's like understanding the space. There's no room for division. There's no room for grasping. In the space, which is like emptiness, in the space you have seen birds flying. All kinds of birds, crows, manas, parrots, all kinds of birds flying. But have you ever seen any bird making a division in the space and saying, this is my home? Dekha kabhi. Stupid human beings are even trying to do that, which is impossible. Nahi hai na wahan. They fly, they enjoy the space, they fly. As many times as possible you fly. Then after that, they don't develop any grasping on any portion of the space saying, this is my... हम लोग division कर रहे हैं, है ना? So many of these unfortunate things can be removed by understanding the reality. Anyway, we live in a world awash with information. Information तो बहुत है ना, हर सेकेंड में पोंग पिंग पोंग करके आ रहा है मोबाइल फोन में. But we seem to face a growing scarcity of wisdom. Wisdom नहीं है, information बहुत सारा है. And what is worse, we confuse the two, information and wisdom. We believe that having access to more information produces more knowledge, which results in more wisdom. That's how we think. But if anything, the opposite is true. More and more information without the proper context of interpretation only muddles our understanding of the world rather than enriching it. मतलब है, whatever little knowledge you have, know that precisely, properly. ठीक है ना? This barrage of readily available information has also created an environment where one of the worst social sins is to appear uninformed. Ours is a culture where it is enormously embarrassing not to have an opinion on something. हम लोग नहीं बोल सकता कि मैं नहीं जानता है. You pretend you know everything. नहीं जानता है बोलो क्या है इसमें? You are not enlightened being, you are not Bhagwan. जानने का जरूरत भी नहीं है. मुझे पता नहीं, छोड़ो. जिसको gossip करना करने दो. And in order to seem informed, we form our so-called opinions hastily. जल्दी से अपना opinion बना लेता है. Based on fragmentary bits of information and superficial impressions rather than true understanding. किसी चीज में concentration करके, जांच पड़ताल करके, बैठ करके, एनालिसिस करने का कोई आजकल किसी में वो ना टाइम है ना पेशेंस है. तो जल्दी you conclude that this is the fact. Knowledge, as the great writer Emerson says, is the knowing that we cannot know. We cannot know everything. There's no need to know. So to grasp the importance of this, we first need to define these concepts as a ladder of understanding. Ladder of understanding, whose base foundation is information, which simply tells us some basic fact about the world. Above information is knowledge, which is the understanding of how different bits of information fit together to reveal some truth about the world. Knowledge hinges on an act of correlation and interpretation. At the top is wisdom, which has a moral component. That's why wisdom is so important. It is the application of information worth remembering and knowledge that matters to understanding not only how the world works, but also how it should work. It should work. And that requires a moral framework of what should and should not matter, as well as an ideal of world at its highest potentiality. So I will give you an example. For example, difference between information, knowledge, and wisdom. Information is having a library of books on shipbuilding. For example, if you are to build a ship, then information is having a library of books on shipbuilding. Knowledge applies that to building a ship. Access to the information, to the books, is a prerequisite of the knowledge, but not a guarantee of it. Once you built your ship, wisdom is what allows you to sail it without sinking. Yeah, this is the thing. So like the ship, with wisdom, you should not let your life sink into trouble, into problem. And to protect it from the storm that creeps up from the horizon in the dead of the night, to point it just so that the wind breathes life into it itself. So that basically, to make a long story short, there is a storm everywhere. But if you study the storm, inside the storm there is always calmness. Similarly, in our life also, there may be storm, strife, problems here and there, but through meditation, through mind training, you should maintain that calmness of mind. And when you maintain that calmness of mind, you will be able to deal with all problems, external, internal problems. Right? So therefore, removing ignorance and developing wisdom is so important. Then how are you going to develop that wisdom? Through prayer? At one time there was an Indian saint, Sadhuji, who was giving teaching to a group of students by the side of a river. So after finishing the teaching, he asked one of his students, take this book and place it on the table in my living room. He goes and comes back frightened, saying, Guruji, I cannot go there. There is a snake lying there near the table. Then Guruji bola, okay, I'll give you this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum or whatever, Namo Shiva, whatever. Recite this mantra, the snake will run away. So he went reciting this mantra, snake was still there. He came back saying, Guruji, I recited the mantra, it didn't help. What should I do? Then Guruji gave him a lamp. Take this. And when he took the lamp and went there, the closer he went to the table, he was able to see things clearly. There was no snake, but a coil of rope. Rasi tha wahan. Saamp nahi tha. But this is such a great example. जितना डर हमारे अंदर में आ रहा है, the fear, amount of fear, depression, anxiety that we are getting are mostly based on lack of knowledge of the reality. Your mind is making it up based on incomplete information, wrong information, things like that. And because of that misconception of reality, you will develop a fear as if there is a real snake there. वहाँ नहीं था. So this is how your mind can create problem in yourself. ठीक है ना? No, right now, okay. So right now I stop here because my talking will never come to an end. So what I would suggest is you attack me with all your questions. Any question. When I say ask any question, I'm not saying I have all the answers. But if you have some burning questions, it will be very important to ask those questions. Yes?
Sir, just now you said mind is making up fear because of the limited amount of information that it is having.
Oh.
And you also told us in the beginning that we don't need to know everything.
Yes.
So how do we, like, isn't it better to know everything so that we can have a better picture of the reality?
Everything matlab kya hai? For example, even if you try to get all the information that comes on Google, you will not be able to do that. Number one, it's not possible. है ना? And it is not necessary. It is not necessary. Because, as I said, the troublemaker is the mind. And once you control the mind and see everything in its perspective, then you will stop running after objects. You will be just an spectator. Right now we have problem, we have difficulty. क्यों? Because we are running after objects. इस लड़की के पीछे जाना, उस लड़के के पीछे जाना, उस मकान के पीछे जाना, इस घड़ी के पीछे दौड़ना. How long are you going to run? Have you heard the story of Angulimal? पता है ना?
No, sir.
So we are today like Angulimal. ठीक है ना? So my point is, it's not running after all kind of information, it's not running after all kind of objects, but simply understanding the reality. When you talk about reality, reality is same, impermanent. All these people here are impermanent, same. Ultimate nature of all these people, including the not only people, table, everything is shunyata, same. So once you get this bigger picture, bigger understanding, you know everything.
I'm sorry if the question doesn't make much sense, but at times I think over it, that what is the purpose of life? Is it the same as that of a bird, or it is much more? Um, we've seen how civilizations have prospered and have come to great extent and again gone back to the ruins. So, do we see it as a linear process? Do we see it as a cyclical process? And if we see this pattern of rise and destruction, so what is the point? Are we stuck there? Where do we move? Are we moving forward?
Very good
And I do not understand if even what is permanent then? Is the state of Buddhahood permanent? And if that is permanent, what will that lead us to? Where will we finally be? What is that we are finally trying to achieve in the end? I'm sorry if I've bothered you with the question, but it is the more I read and listen to you, I get it in my head, and probably I'm looking for the answers.
Yeah. Very good question. I'll tell you a story first. It's an Indian story. There was a gentleman who lived 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. He lived 1,000 years. When he was 1,000 years old, the messenger of death came. He said, "Gentleman, you lived very long. It's time to go." Because he lived 1,000 years, during the course of this, he married 100 women, has at least 100 children, sons, daughters, whatever. So when the messenger of the death said this to him, he said, "Yeah, I know I lived 1,000 years, but I still want to live." So if you want to take somebody, take one of my sons. Messenger of death goes to the next son, and everybody says, no, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live. He finally goes to the one who was only 16 years old. तो उसे पूछा तो that 16-year-old boy said, yes, I want to go. Very happily. Then the messenger of the death was mesmerized. He said, your father don't want to go, all your elder brothers don't want to go. Why you are so excited? He said, I'm excited because even after living so many years, if they don't get anything, I don't think I'll get anything by living. You see? So this partly answers your question. What I'm saying is, when it comes to making your life meaningful, it is not so much about how long you live. It is if you live long, very good. You can make your life much more meaningful, provided if you're on the positive side, or even otherwise. Even one day, even just one day, if you have smiled with other people, if you had extended your helping hand to other people, if you had not created any problem, any unhappiness to the mind of the people, that is meaning of your life. मीनिंग ऑफ लाइफ ऐसा नहीं है कि जा के परिश्रम करके एक दिन में पहुंच गया वहाँ शीश महल में, ऐसा नहीं है, कुछ नहीं. Life is a process. So you need to make your life meaningful every day, if possible, every minute, every second. That's it. And then this cycle, as you mentioned, is what we are witnessing. The cycle we are talking about is what we are witnessing in this so-called samsara. Samsara में तो वही है, उतर चढ़ाव की जिंदगी वही है. कोई मर रहा है, कोई बच्चा पैदा हो रहा है, कोई जी रहा है, एक हो रहा है, लड़ रहा है. This ordinary cycle existence. But there is another life which we are talking about, nirvana, enlightenment. हाँ? वो हमने नहीं देखा है. So if you live your life properly and attune your mind to all these positive emotions, things like that, then there is a possibilities of entering into that realm where you can also reach what we call as deathless state. It is not necessarily permanent or impermanent, that's not so important. Anything that's permanent is not necessarily good, or anything that is impermanent is not necessarily bad. It's not so much about that. Even Buddha, enlightened master, he is impermanent. Impermanent means not just death, impermanent means changing. Changing means flexibility. If change ही नहीं है तो फिर you are stuck, क्या करोगे फिर? वह जो है वही वहाँ पर मुर्दा की तरह पर रहेगी, है ना? So change itself is, a wonderful thing. It's a dynamic process. ठीक है ना? So that's good. That's good. Okay. So therefore, according to Buddhism, we say meaning of human life is happiness. Happiness means basically satisfaction. Satisfaction means if you do something, say something, think something which is positive, not harming anybody, you get deep satisfaction. मैंने किसी को कुछ बुरा नहीं किया, बुरा नहीं बोला, मुझे डरना क्या है? पुलिस भी आओ, कोई भी आओ, मुझे डरना क्या है? There's satisfaction. And you can sleep peacefully. किसी से डर नहीं, कुछ नहीं. अगर उसके अलावा आपने चोर किया होता, चोरी डाका कुछ किया होता, गंदा किया होता, फिर डर होता है ना. Even if you pretend you are perfect, still your conscience tells you आपने गलत किया. वो नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है ना? Right? And then also the important thing is, according to Buddhism, this life is not life is just a tiny fraction. This is nothing. When we die, what dies is the body, not the mind. For example, if you go to bed and sleep tonight, your body is more or less dead, no? खराटे मार रहा है, हाँ? आँख भी नहीं देख रहा, दिखाई देता है आपको सोते वक्त, आँख भी कुछ नहीं देख रहा है, हाँ? All your senses stop functioning, huh? But mind becomes very active. Mind starts going to New York, shopping, Bangalore shopping, back with your family. होता ही नहीं होता है? होता है कि नहीं होता है ना? शॉपिंग कर रहा है ना, पिकनिक कर रहा है ना, लड़ रहा है, सब कुछ करता है ना. This shows the capacity of the mind to get separate from your body. So it is this mind which takes their long journey. So therefore, spiritual practice means involve that subtle mind. That's why in spiritual Buddhist practice we say the practice must be done by the mind, not by the senses. Ordinarily people, they don't know how to do dharma practice, so they end up just going around the temple, burning a butter lamp. जो देखने का चीज़ है वही करके बैठते हैं ना हम लोग. This is good, but that's not the real practice. Real practice involves your mind, because it is this subtle mind, mental consciousness, which is going to go to the next world. उसमें छाप रखो. Get habituated with that positive things with your mind. Then, when you die, or even before you die, you will get good dream. When you're awake, you have controlled, calm mind. You will be, even if there is ups and downs in life, you will be fine. We sometimes get so excited when we get good news, and get so dejected when we bad news, because we don't know the reality. If you know the reality, there's nothing much to get excited. Samsara mein hai abhi bhi. There's not much reason to get dejected, because today if you're getting good news, tomorrow bad news is waiting. Today if you're getting bad news, good news is also waiting. कुछ नहीं है ग्रस्त करने के लिए, कुछ भी नहीं है ग्रहण करने के लिए, कुछ भी नहीं. Then you will be very happy. Like, look, you met His Holiness Dalai Lama this morning. He is now 87 years old. How controlled, calm, happy at such an age. Because his concern is always, how can I bring smiles on the face of other people? How can I help them? That is his mission. Ordinarily, our mission is paisa banana. I'm not saying you don't need money. I also need money. But what I'm saying is, that is not the main source of your peace and happiness. Then as you asked, are we like the birds? No, we are not like birds. There is a similarity with the birds, even with the trees, there is a similarity. They'll come and then they will also drop and die. We will also die. So that way we are similar. But the difference is, human beings have got this big brain. We have the biggest brain among all living animals relative to the size of the body. तो इतना बड़ा खोपड़ी लेकर के, इतना बड़ा ब्रेन लेकर के क्या करना है आपने? सोचना है, और क्या है? सोच सकता है, बदल सकता है चीज़. That's unique. That's because of this capacity we call this human life precious human life. Because if you use your brain to the positive side, you can be the Dalai Lama, you can be Mother Teresa, or at least you can be somebody who will bring peace and happiness in the mind of hundreds of people. Even insignificant person like me, because I follow His Holiness, I follow Buddha's teaching, I give lectures like this, I know many people are getting benefit. So that you can also do. Now the same brain, same intelligence, if you, that intelligence, that brain, that intelligence is like nuclear power. Nuclear energy itself is nothing negative, nothing positive. It is how you use it. So the same intelligence, if you use it in the wrong way, you can become Mao Zedong. You can become Hitler. See? So therefore in Buddhism we talk so much about developing bodhicitta, the altruistic wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. We talk so much about the need to develop compassion, the need to develop love, so much. So that's why, as I was telling you, in 2011 when these three people came, at that time I said, it's very important these young people should get proper guidance. So next time, if your side, if you agree, if it is okay, then when this group of people come, you'll take up, down, all these things, they may be good, I don't know. But at least you should make 3, 4, 5 days available. And I will make sure that I will not travel any place. I will make sure I'm available here. I'll meet them, talk to them, listen to them. For me, that's very important. So since 2012, we started this philosophy class. And you attended which year?
2013.
And she was so moved, now she's a nun, no? I'm joking. I'm joking. Not nun, but she's really practicing. Very nice, yeah. Yeah.
Geshe-la, I wanted to ask whether attachment is intrinsically bad, whether there are attachments that can be good. For example, my attachment to my parents, because they give me so much of love and affection, whether some form of attachment to them is reasonable and also human thing to do. Also, what about the attachment to the fact that I want maximum happiness? Would that be bad as well? Thank you.
There's a scientific answer and Buddhist answer. The scientific answer, according to science, they say all emotions are necessary. There's nothing negative, nothing positive. They explain this based on the fight and flight response. Right? Fight and flight response. If these emotions are not there, you may be easily, killed by animal. This story came long time back. People used to live in jungle, naked with animals. So for your food, you kill them or run away from them, things like that. So we had that kind of lineage. So nothing, that's scientific way. But according to Buddhist way, there is a difference between love and attachment. Love your parents, but don't develop attachment. Because what you want is something that's really beneficial to you and to your parents. Now, if you develop genuine loving kindness, you will not get stuck with them. You will love them, you will help them, you will take care of them, but you will not get stuck with them. If you get stuck with them, if you tie your neck with their neck, you'll all die together, है ना? थोड़ा इधर रहना चाहिए उनको मदद करने के लिए थोड़ा little bit detached, then you can help. So therefore, it of course depends on the meaning of the English word attachment, but the Tibetan meaning I'm saying is there's difference between love and attachment. Okay, love minimizes fault, meaning that when you have genuine love, you don't see the faults and problems, small, things with other person. You are only able to see the good things of that person. Therefore, you are able to show lots of love. Now, attachment comes. There's difference. When you develop love, you say, I must love my parents, as you rightly mentioned, that because they are so kind to me, they have been so loving to me, they are my parents, things like that. Now, when you develop attachment, you are saying, they are my parent. You bring yourself into the scene. They are my parent. For example, you love yourself because of me, I, me, mine. And now it is scientifically proved that those people who make a lot of references to I, me, and mine, they are prone to all kinds of illnesses, including heart attack. Because when you talk about I, me, and mine, your focus becomes very narrow. I, me, and mine. If you talk about others, your vision becomes broader, things like that. So there is a difference between attachment and love. Okay, but ordinarily the love that we are again when I use the word love, I'm talking about loving kindness, unconditional love. I love you all because you are all like me, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. Therefore, I love you. Not because you have been kind to me, not because you are my brother, not because you are my sister, but because of the fact all exactly like me. I don't know much about you, but you're all the thing that I know is that you are all exactly like me, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. Therefore, I love you, just as I love myself. I love myself, but if people ask me, Geshe-la, I saw you that you have been taking care of yourself so much for the last so many years. You cook for yourself, you wash your body, you wash your clothes. Why you are taking so much care about yourself? If I get such asked question, then my answer will be because I want happiness, not want suffering. Similarly, you should take care of others because they also want happiness too, not want suffering. Now when the ordinary love, which is more or less attachment, the problem with that is that ordinary attachment and love becomes a business love. You do say, I love you so much, but at the end of the day you are saying, I love you so long as you love me. That's business. Clear indication is the moment that person doesn't love you, you also stop. Divorce. Khatam ho jata na kahani wahan. But the Buddhist teaching says, whether you love me or not, I love you. Very stubborn. लेकिन उसके पीछे पड़ने का मतलब नहीं है ये. पीछे पड़ने का मतलब नहीं है. पीछे पड़ने का मतलब नहीं, because love is not how many times you touch each other, but how many times you reach each other. Meaning that how many times you mentally reach and care about other person. Not so much hugging, touching, things like that. That's genuine love. So there's a big difference between business love and genuine love. Okay? Yeah.
So you said that an individual get frightened because he thinks that reality is permanent. But once we start training our mind that it's not permanent, everything would be fine or something like that. But how do we train mind? Because I personally feel like every time I say myself that this is not permanent, I find myself in the same place the very next day from where it started.
Because just like your food, is it enough for you to eat just one day? नहीं है ना, रोज खाना पड़ता है ना. ब्रेकफास्ट भी खाना पड़ता है, लंच भी खाना पड़ता है, डिनर भी खाना पड़ता है, बीच में चाय ये सब कुछ करना पड़ता है ना. तो उसी तरह स्पिरिचुअल प्रैक्टिस में भी लगातार करना चाहिए. यू नीड टू डू प्रैक्टिस रिपीटेडली, देन यू विल ग्रेजुअली चेंज. देन दैट प्रोसेस ऑफ ट्रेनिंग विल मेक एन इम्पैक्ट ऑन योर लाइफ. एक दो ऐसे 5 मिनट आंख मूंद के बैठने से कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Maybe better than nothing, but not much is happening. So we need to make consistent effort. And one consistent effort means not just, foolhardy, but understand, study, reflect. And then, as I said, just to give you an indication, for example, when we came into this world, we came with nothing. कुछ भी नहीं ले आया ना. कुछ भी नहीं ले आया ना. कम से कम शरीर लेके आया. At least we came with this body. But when we die, ये शरीर भी छोड़ के जाना है. तो बीच में क्या हंगामा? So with this understanding, it's not saying again that, oh, I'm fed up with this, I give everything, throw everything. We're not saying things like that. Okay? You've heard about this famous teacher called Milarepa? Yeah, he was very famous. He renounced everything. He was moving naked. You won't believe this. Naked, moving from mountain to mountain. You read some of his stories, you won't believe the life that he lived. Okay? And there was a fellow who was highly moved by Milarepa's way of practice, and he said, I will also become like Milarepa. So he immediately threw away all his belongings. But his mind was not determined, not prepared. After 2-3 days he started suffering. Mera coat kahan hai, mera pen kahan hai, mera khana ka bartan kahan hai, Then he said, you know what he said? This Milarepa, not only he is a beggar, he also made me a beggar. So we are not talking about just throwing things away like that. Not throwing the physical objects, but your mind renouncing or relaxing that grasping onto objects. Then you will be free. कुछ खो गया, चलो कोई बात नहीं, खो गया. ऐसा होता है. रिलेटिव्स मर गया, चलो मर गया, होता है. ये भी हो सकता है, क्यों नहीं? अभी तो आप लोग हंस रहे हैं ना. ये भी हो सकता है, क्योंकि I'll give you an example. We are meeting here today, right? Maybe tomorrow, maybe next 3 days. We plan to travel to Shimla, so that unfortunately curtailed down the program a little bit. So anyway, after this meeting, when we separate, will you cry for me? Or shall I cry for you? No. Why?
Your attachment is not that too strong yet.
क्यों attachment क्यों नहीं है? एक तो I did not do much to you, you did not do much to me, things like that. Then also, you have that clear understanding, मैं तो यहाँ गुरु जी के साथ 2 दिन के लिए आया. So like that, if you have this understanding, मेरे parents के साथ भी 10 साल, 20 साल, whatever, इसके लिए आया है. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा डिस्काउंट देके, मैंने बोला था ना, डिस्काउंट देके ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 50 साल तक है. So when you have this kind of understanding, then the benefit is that I will be with my parents only 50-40 years. So therefore, during this time, I must be really nice, I must serve my parents. That thinking will come. And when you think and do act like that, lovingly, affectionately, serving your parents like that, when they go, कुछ पछताने का कुछ भी नहीं है. Nothing to regret. जी लिया पूरा जिंदगी मैंने, ठीक से उनके साथ जी लिया. They did well, I did well, so next life will be also wonderful. I don't know where they are, but it is fine. हम लोग क्या करते हैं? Opposite. When you're living together, you are not so nice to each other. Then you shed your crocodile tear. I call it crocodile tear, magarmach ka aansu. So we keep on doing useless things. So therefore, all this Buddhist teaching, they are saying, do useful things. Useless mat चीज जो है वो मत करो. हम लोग useless चीज. That's the thing. ठीक है ना? So therefore, when you understand reality, it will really properly think. And you are all very smart people, I know. So if you spend a little bit of time on all this and read and think about this, there will be a quantum leap in your life. Quantum leap, I am saying. And when you develop that frame of mind, then कुछ फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है. जो भी ups and downs, whatever is there, कुछ फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है. Nothing can shake you. And it takes time, it takes practice. ठीक है ना? Okay.
Tashi dile Geshe Lhakdor.
Speak in, ask question in Tibetan.
I want to learn, so maybe one day. These are just some thoughts I had. I don't know if I'll be able to form a proper question. So most of the times I don't believe the concept of karma because, you see bad things happening to people who've not really done anything wrong. And sometimes you see bad people getting away with doing things and, nothing happens to them. And then people tend to relate, they make a karmic relation with their past life and then they fear that, you should have a positive karma in this life so that your next life is not affected by it. So instead of, relating it with the past or the future, how do you make peace with your karma in the present? Because mistakes do happen. Sometimes people do wrong things. So, it's a little confusing how karma actually works.
Number one, you need to have a clear idea of what karma means. Don't mystify karma. Okay? Karma means action. Why we are studying? With the hope that something good result will come, that will get a job and things like that. Everybody is doing that. So that's karma. So don't make it complicated. Karma is not creator. Karma is your action. You do good, have good. You do bad, have bad. But your question is, I understand your question. Sometimes you do good things, but because of many other factors, it may not be, the fruit may not be very good. That's possible. But that doesn't mean that you should stop doing good things. Right? Because generally, the farmers, they sow seed, with the hope to get good crops. Season after season, year after year, people do that. And generally speaking, they do get good crops. But then occasionally there will be hailstorm. There will be other unforeseen, disturbances because of which they may not flood and things like that. They may not be able to get crop. This is because of certain other conditions which you have no control. Then in our human life, not only this, but because of our past lives habits or karma, that you may not be able to get everything that you want. So those are possible. So therefore what is important is in this life you should do the positive karma. And so also when you talk about doing the positive karma, and as I said, it's an action, and that action must be done with proper planning using human intelligence. Then you will get good fruit. Sometimes you don't get good fruit because you're trying to be good and good behavior, but dimag nahi lagata hai. So इसलिए I always emphasize the importance of dil or dimag ka santulan, combination of head and heart. Heart means compassion, love, which is important. But that love and compassion must be based on understanding, knowledge of the reality. Otherwise, if you just say love, compassion, and don't use your dimag, use your intelligence, people will exploit you. ये लड़का तो बहुत शरीफ है, ये लड़की तो बहुत शरीफ है, इनको काम पे लगा दो, इसको पैसा ज़्यादा देने का ज़रूरत नहीं, ऐसे हो सकता सब कुछ, है ना? तो इसलिए the reason that we should develop compassion is because you know that other people are suffering. So based on reason, based on insight, based on knowledge, you see the need to develop love, compassion, things like that. So दोनों चाहिए, ठीक है ना?
Tassidalai Kishla. So you just told that the importance of listening, then thinking, then meditation, so as to complete the circle of study. So till now, I was under the impression that thinking about something all alone in a room, that is meditation. So I was under the impression that thinking all alone with my eyes closed, that was meditation. So now I realize that thinking and meditation are two different entities. Can you just give us more insight into that?
Now with meditation, there are two types of meditation. One is called one-pointed meditation. Second is called analytical meditation. There are many other forms also, but basically these two are the main category. Now, one-pointed meditation, why we need one-pointed meditation? It is like using a laser beam. If the rays of the laser beam are scattered, it will not have the capacity to cut through steel. But if the rays of the laser beam are concentrated, it can easily cut through steel. So like that, when our energy of the mind is scattered, we don't have the capacity to know anything properly. Distraction is so much there in today's world. So much distraction. In addition to regular human weakness, we have all these mobile phones and countless gadgets and all these sights and smells and things like that. You're completely distracted, right? So therefore, get rid of this distraction and concentrate. Yesterday I was reading a book which was actually apart from Patanjali, where it gives a beautiful example of how when your senses run wild, then you lose your strength, you lose your stamina. So therefore, withdraw, do not cater too much to the dictates of the senses, but focus within, use your mind. And then the example given was like the tortoise. Tortoise, when its four legs are out, legs and limbs are out, and head also out, it's not very strong. But when it withdraws the head and the leg, everything inside, the shell, everything becomes so strong. That was the example which I read yesterday. So similarly, when you restrain running after the sensual objects, restrain the senses, then empower the mind. Then you become very strong. You can analyze, you can concentrate. So therefore, one-pointed concentration is very important. Not only in religious practice, but whatever practice you want to do, one-pointedness, as somebody said, concentration is the source of success both in war and in peace. If you want to take a photograph, also the lens have to be concentrated. If you want to shoot somebody, also concentration. है ना? So like that you need to concentrate, that's one thing. But concentration alone is not enough. It should be based on analytical meditation. Analyze. For example, first you study, think about the pros and cons of, the definitions and meanings of impermanence. And then gradually when you are able to get the gist of the meaning of impermanence, then conclude. That is concentration. Concentration is like conclusion. Yeah. Aha. We call it, in English we call it aha moment. Aha, this is it. Then concentrate on it. Right? And the beauty of this analytical meditation is when you analyze and find things for yourself and come to that beautiful conclusion, nobody can then change your mind. Nobody can shake you. Because you got the full knowledge. Now, in order to get that full knowledge, you need to get rid of all these distractions. And once you remove all these distractions and be with your mind, the amount of peace and happiness that you get is so much, you can't explain, you see. So therefore, one of the major problems in today's world is we do not know how to live alone and also do not know how to live with others. दूसरों के संगत में भी नहीं रहना आता है और अकेला भी नहीं. During the pandemic we have seen इतना दिन कमरे में बंद करके कैसे रहना, बाहर नहीं जा सकता है, रेस्टोरेंट में नहीं जा सकता है. India is still better in some of the Western countries because almost all the time they eat out, they are socializing, things like that. In big cities also, in India also we have. So when suddenly there is a problem like pandemic, people don't know how to live alone. That's the problem. So therefore this meditation, these teachings are telling you that you should be a solid person. You should be happy with yourself. You should be happy with yourself. I really, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know, but I really enjoyed the pandemic because I don't have to go to the office much, and I got so much time to read all those texts that I wanted to read and focus and meditate and cook and sleep, So they're really nice, right? So anyway, I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, whether you like, this is the bitter truth, whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself. Unless you take care of yourself, nobody can take care of you in the true sense of the term. Thoda kuch to hoga idhar udhar. Because the nature has made us in such a way that even your best friends, relatives, they cannot enter into your brain and think for you and make peace and calmness in you unless you think about yourself. Right? So therefore the Buddha said, self is the protector of the self, no one else can be the protector. Similarly, self is the enemy of the self, no one else can be the enemy. How can you bring happiness in the mind of other people if you are not happy with yourself? And if you are happy with yourself, there is many reasons to be happy with yourself. Right? There are many reasons to be happy with yourself. What are the reasons? Can you bring some reasons why you should be happy with yourself?
Having a healthy body.
Yeah.
Having a healthy body.
Exactly. दोनों आंख सही सलामत हैं, दोनों पाँव भी है. I mean, think like this. There are thousands and millions of people who have no legs, no hands, no sights, no eye. So we should not be living as if our legs are not functioning, as if our hands are not functioning, as if our eyes are not functioning. सब कुछ तो है आपके पास. Because the reason that we are not so happy and so satisfied is we see the source of happiness to some external factor. वो भी मुझे चाहिए, वो बंगला भी मुझे चाहिए, ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए. जो आपके पास है वो आप पहचानता ही नहीं. That's the problem. Okay? Yeah.
Geshe, when we become habitual to a certain habit, even though we know we don't need that habit or we need to stop it, but because we are encircled in that cycle, we don't step out of it. So how do we break that? Put a break to that cycle?
Yeah, that is called addiction. that's, that's, that's basically called addiction. And addiction may be addiction to tea, not necessarily very, very bad, but addiction to tea, addiction to coffee, addiction to sleeping, addiction to any habits. So therefore, number one, you need to understand that this kind of die-hard habit, I call it die-hard habit, is not good for me. Okay, so you need to come out of your comfort zone. The problem with human beings is they tend to stay in that area in which they are familiar, even if it is suffering. There's a lot of suffering, there's a problem, but still I know this area, so I want to live here. So don't do that. Venture out a little bit, come out a little bit. There are so many varieties of world outside, there are so many things. So be a little bit bold to come out of it. Then you will be able to come out of it. And do, for example, if you are addicted or strongly habituated with something, not able to come out of it, then start some other program, interesting program. Join other group or you yourself start some interesting project. Empty mind is devil's workshop, as we say. So let your mind occupy with something more interesting. Then you get again habituated with these good things also. Yeah.
So current scientific understanding seems limited about death, rebirth and concepts like this where we touch some non-physical dimension. So what's the Buddhist understanding, or I'm trying to neglect how scientifically or what's the mechanism of how this process is going on, like what's the composition of body and mind and what happens after death, or what is like when they refer to like bardo states or something like that, then how this process is happening, because some Buddhist masters, they have been consciously choosing their next births. So how this happens, how this process happens, what are the I want to understand science behind it.
So science may be very useful, but we don't have to, prove everything based on science.
Yes.
We should also use our own personal experience as the scientific data. Sometimes, there are things we personally experience, but still saying scientific evidence. Scientific evidence may be important, but it is not always 100% correct. So therefore, please sit down. So therefore, like I always give the example, like the electric wire. That electric wire is like your body. And the current flowing through that wire is like your mind. You don't see the current flowing through the wire. That doesn't mean current is not there. If you say it's not there, then touch it. So like that. So at least science also talks about subtler forms like energy. So gradually they will probably be able to find something. Now even with the particles, they have been for a long time trying to find out and locate the so-called fundamental building block. This is the smallest particle, we found it, this is the building block, that is what they wanted to say. But the more their machine becomes sophisticated, more their technique becomes more skilled, the more they are able to see more subtler forms. Now these days they are talking about wave particle duality. When they thought this is a wave, it changes into particle. When they thought this is a particle, it changes into wave, you see. In Buddhism, the Buddha made a statement a long time before by saying that there is nothing that is partless. There is nothing that is partless. Okay? Either it will be due to various directions, dimensions, it becomes with part, or it may be your mental designation, the momentarily changing, first moment, second moment, third moment. That way also it has parts, right? So anyway, the point is, the answer to your question is that there are things we can see, there are things we don't see right now, but that doesn't mean it is not there. For example, the mind itself. We all talk about mind, body, mind, body, mind, body. But when you try to precisely locate what is mind, how are you going to locate it? It is non-physical. It's colorless, it's shapeless, right? So it's only experiential. So through that way you can say that it is there. Okay? And then also there are many things, like even this water, which seems free from any virus or bacteria, at least to my naked eye. But if I use a powerful microscope, it may have some little, very tiny little bugs moving there. You see? So my point is now how these bugs are able to survive. Do they have a brain like us? Do they have a nervous system like us? No. How are they able to survive? So this may also not be the smallest. You can even go smaller, 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 and then finally it is almost like non-physical. So therefore in Buddhism we talk about desire realm, form realm, formless realm. Right? So it's all possible. But right now science do not, because they measure everything by using a machine, And then what they measure through the machine also, if you look at the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, he's clearly saying that what you perceive is very much dependent upon the subjective involvement. We may be using the same instrument, but you have a different vision, I have a different vision, I have a different experience, and we will play into it. You see? So basically the nature of brain itself is such that it always doesn't tell the complete truth. Okay? Okay, one or two questions, then we stop. Yeah?
Jainism says about the theory of Anikantvad and Shadvad that it is not possible for our ordinary beings to know the whole reality. We can just know the part or aspects of reality. Like there is example given of 6 blind men who are touching the
Yeah.
of man. So isn't then in this age where there is not a lot of conflict about religion and all, isn't that theory much more peaceful or much needed in the world where it says that everyone is good, or right in their viewpoint. Nobody is wrong. So basically, I just wanted to know your views on that.
No, that's why I'm saying. I was answering this because the question was asked.
Yeah.
But otherwise, sit down please. Otherwise, we should practice religious pluralism. Okay? It's not so much the question of who is right, who is wrong. I'm simply explaining the Buddhist stand. I'm not saying anybody is wrong or right. That's not my business. Human mental interest and dispositions are diverse. For some, having a greater concept is good. For some, anatma, selfless, creatorless, that is good. So let them follow. So there may be differences in philosophy, but the message is same more or less. The message is message of love, message of compassion, message of unity. That's important. But the unfortunate thing, your question is good in the sense because the unfortunate thing is we try to prove that my religion is the best religion. So here the correct answer is, if you ask which religion is best, I would say this is a stupid question. Nobody has asked this question to me. You would only asked about Buddhist trend, So if you ask me which religion is best, this is a stupid question. It's like asking which medicine is best. For you, that medicine is best, which cures your particular illness. But that doesn't mean, by that you cannot say that because it cured my headache, so therefore this medicine should be good even for those who are having stomach problem. Right? So for you, you can say, this religion is good for me. Because of that, you cannot say this should be good for everybody. That's the problem. There are people, fanatics, fundamentalists, who try to make others get converted to their religion. Others are termed as atheists, non-believers, They should be burned, they should be maimed, they should be imprisoned. That is the problem, religious fanaticism. This is very, very short-sighted. It's similar like supermarket. In the supermarket, if the supermarket sells only shoes, not many people will go there. But if that supermarket sells many different commodities, then many people will go there and their need will be fulfilled. Similarly, in a garden, if there's only one garden, in that garden there's only one colored flower, red flower, not many people will like it. If that garden has many flowers, it will like it. So there should be different religious traditions, depending upon needs of other people. Like if you become too narrow-minded, then you cannot even eat together with your family member. Because the father will say, I like bread. Mother will say, I like rice. Kids will say, I like chocolate. Now if the father says, because I like bread, you should all eat bread, that's stupid. You see, you can advise for health reasons. Otherwise, let them enjoy whatever they like. So similarly, we should respect everybody. But the problem arises because not only you highlight your religion, but then you become fanatic, fundamentalist, and try to silence everybody, kill everybody. That has happened in the history. So therefore, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is very concerned about religious harmony. This is one of his main reason to travel around the world. Number one is human value, promote human value. Number two is religious harmony. Number three is Tibetan issue. Number four is revival of ancient Indian tradition. And for religious harmony, he has written this beautiful, beautiful book called Kinship of Faiths. You should read that, Kinship of Faiths. Very important. Yeah. Okay, one last question, then we stop. Because you have such interest.
So I just want to know, Geshe,
Yeah.
I just want to know if it is possible for us to subscribe to the scientific newsletter that you were referring to.
That's only in Tibetan, unfortunately.
Because
But I would strongly suggest you try to read all the books, if possible, of the Mind and Life dialogue. There are 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many books already published. So these are all books, as a result of dialogue of His Holiness Dalai Lama with many leading scientists. So those books are really good because you get perspective of both the world. It's really good. Especially if you read this book, Universe in a Single Atom. Universe in a Single Atom.
Geshe, if you want to start our study in Buddhism, can you recommend a few books for the beginners that we can start with?
For the beginners, cultivating daily meditation is good. Cultivating daily meditation. I'm recommending this book because it is a book based on the teaching that His Holiness gave to the Indians. Okay, so that has some meditation also. And then all these explanations about shunyata, interdependent origination, everything is there. Cultivating daily meditation. Diksung? Oh yeah, see you tomorrow.